Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of BC Plus Live. I'm your host, Jeremiah, W9JAM, with my co host.
Andy, KC9SKV.
And today we are going to be talking about the Ultra Codeplug and the Super Codeplug updates, what radios they are going to cover going forward, as well as the new Duo Max Codeplug, and what exactly that Codeplug is. So, with that, for those of you who don't know what the Ultra and the Super Codeplug are, they are two different code plugs that enable you to use a hotspot like the SkyBridge, um, which is our product at BridgeCom, or the Zoom spot, a jumbo spot, anything that can be configured for color code 1, time slot 2, and the frequency of 446.550. That is what you will want to have your hotspot configured as for its setup. And you'll want to make sure you're using the same DMR ID on that hotspot as your radio. Some people I know have two different DMR IDs. In some cases, I've seen where somebody has 3 different DMR IDs. Not sure exactly how that happened, but hey, it happened. But if your radio and your hotspot don't have the same DMR ID, it will actually make it where you have to either do extra configuration on your hotspot to get the code plugs to work, or you have to go in and change your DMR ID on the code plug. So there are workarounds, but it's up to your skill level to be able to apply those workarounds. But we can definitely help if it's one of our sky bridges. And if it's not one of our sky bridges and it's a Zoom spot or a jumbo spot, something that you can look into if you're really stuck and you just aren't getting anywhere is an advanced tech call, which is a service we provide to help people be able to get on the air quickly. If they got their radio from, let's say, another distributor and it's an AnyTone radio, or since I have experience with it, the TYT radio, the TYT 380 and 390 series radios, as well as the Redivis 3S or RT3S and the Redivis RT8. Those are radios that I have experience with. Even though we don't sell the TYT and the Redivis radios, I can help with those on an advanced tech call. If you want to check in more about an advanced tech call, you can go to bridgecomsystems.com. Go to resources on the menu bar and scroll down to the bottom and you'll see advanced tech call and you'll be able to learn more about that there. BridgeCom Plus members do get a discount on advanced tech calls. So there's that. And lifetime members get 2 free advanced tech calls a year, and annual members get 1 advanced tech call a year. Just so you guys know. But those are for the advanced tech calls. If it's something that's warranty, that is covered under warranty, and we will get you taken care of as quickly as we can. So as far as the code plugs go, what is the Super Codeplug and what is the Ultra Codeplug? The Super Codeplug is a code plug that has all 50 states in it, as well as the main international talk group for each country. So you're able to take and basically talk to another country with as little setup as possible. It's kind of like a drag and drop code plug. You get the correct file for your radio, you put your DMR ID in under radio ID, and I'll show you guys that here in a few minutes. And then you write it to your radio. And as long as your hotspot set up, you're able to start talking. The Ultra Codeplug takes the Super Codeplug and builds on that. What that actually does is it has everything the Super Codeplug has, plus it has individual cities or towns inside of the countries. So it breaks the countries up. So you're able to take and talk to individual locations inside of a country. Now, one thing that Kurt just mentioned, which is one of our BC Plus members in the Zoom meeting part, he actually asked, would the advanced tech call help with generic MMDVM hotspots? Yes. So that would actually help. Um, so that is something that you can do. Give me 1 second here. And Andy, do you want to take and talk about your experience with the code plug so far?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. No, I enjoy. I've got the. Yeah, I think I've got the. Yeah, I've got the Ultra, and when I first got it, actually with the first 878 before I was part of the BridgeCom family, I popped that sucker in there, and this was even before I even had a SkyBridge, and I was able to use it very easily with my other hotspot. It's just a no name single mono band UHF hotspot, and I popped that code plug into my 878 and was able to basically just update my information in there, put my DMR ID in there, and throw in the extra repeaters and things that I had near me, and was kind of just be able to kind of plug and play without having the actual plug and play package. Being a more advanced user, is able to kind of get things up and rolling in a more quicker manner. But it was kind of nice being able to have everything right there at my fingertips, from experience, actually, before being a part of BridgeCom now, and having access to that. It was kind of nice to be able to have that. Instead of having to build something from scratch, because with all of the Mother M stuff that I have, there's nobody out there that's creating code plugs for that big M stuff, and I had to build all of that by hand. Either P25 or the DMR side, I had to do all that by hand, so it was really convenient to be able to have a singular code plug that kind of just works.
Yeah, and that was the goal of the code plugs, was actually being able to take and make it an experience where somebody who is just getting started is able to drop the code plug into their radio, just put their DMR ID in, and run. The one cool thing about the new code plug, the Duo Max code plug that we're going to get into here in a few minutes, is it actually has the remote shutdown and remote reboot for multiple different kinds of hotspots set up in it now. So if you take your SkyBridge or your Zoom spot or your Jumbo spot or your generic MMDVM on the road with you with your cell phone, and you've got it connected via Wi-Fi, as long as you have those settings turned on in your hotspot, you'll be able to use your radio to tell the hotspot to shut down instead of having to log in via the IP address on your cell phone. And um, you'll be good to go. So you can shut it down, wait for it to say, if it's got a screen on it, it'll say MMDVM stopped. Wait 30 seconds after you see that, and you can pull the power and then, take your hotspot back in the house. For me, when I drove from California out to Massachusetts, I actually was running my SkyBridge, and that's exactly how I shut it down, because I knew which exit I was going to hop off the interstate, grab gas. So I could just switch the zone to the one that was called Sky Commands, and then use the channel knob to switch it to the Sky shutdown, key the radio. And by the time I got to the exit, it said MMDVM stopped on the screen. I could turn off the key on the ignition, and it shut down the SkyBridge. Didn't mess up the micro SD card or the operating system. And for the second half of the trip, I believe I used my other hotspot, which was a custom built hotspot. Um, and use that because I had both frequencies programmed in. So I was able to use that code plug interchangeably with two different hotspots because I knew how to edit the code plug and copy and paste basically all of the channels to a lower part in the code plug or higher channel numbers and just change the input and output frequencies. And that's all I needed to do. Um, so, um, to answer Wade's question in the Zoom chat for BC Plus members, can I get an advanced tech support rolled over if it's not used? Unfortunately, it is like yearly airline miles. Those do not roll over. Um, so um, if you haven't had a need to use it yet, um, I wouldn't worry about it because you're probably doing pretty good on your own. But if you do get stuck, let us know and we can take and figure out what we need to do to get you up and running. Um, so that is Wade's question. Um, Now, Alan N2DUI in YouTube, um, he said he didn't get the Zoom link. Alan, I'm not sure if you saw my message in the email, but I did send you an email saying to go ahead and check your email, and you should have that link in there now. So you should be good to go there. Um, because I sent it to you via the email we have on file for you. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the new Duo Max code plug and what that is. Um, so let me
Meaty
pull up my screen
potatoes.
here. Give me 1 second. I gotta find my share button. There it is. And share screen 2. All right.
Do-do-do. All right, that is very blurry.
It is?
Oh, there it goes. It took a second for it to even itself out.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm not running through any filters, so it should be okay.
All right, good
Um,
deal.
just in case, let me switch this to the other share option real quick because we don't want to share sound because we're just sharing the screen.
That
Okay.
is flawless.
All right. So this is the software for the 878. I'm not sure why. Nope, this is the 168. I just noticed a bug
Mm-hmm.
in the CPS. Okay.
Do-do-do.
Because it says 168 right here and 878 right here. So
Interesting.
uh yeah, I will let AnyTone know about that.
Well,
Um they did send me a new beta firmware.
was
Um
that my 878 code plug, or is that because I see my
this is
name in
the
there?
Duo Max code plug.
Okay.
It's just the file I named for you.
Oh, gotcha. Very good.
Okay. So let me go back to the original file here.
All is well.
Okay. So, what you'll notice that is different on the 868 or excuse me 878 versus the 168 software is that the VFOA and VFOB are now listed at the top instead of the very bottom of the 4,000 channels because both radios, the 878 and the 168, have a 4,000 channel memory capacity, which comes in handy because the Ultra Codeplug uh, has over 900 channels in it. And the reason why is because each channel is a representation of a talk group. So you have one talk group that is assigned to each channel. So for every talk group you want to talk on, you need to have a corresponding channel going through that. And this part right here is the BrandMeister Network stuff. What's new with the Duo Max code plug is it's actually going to have the TGIF channels in it. And what I mean by that is we're going to have, I believe it's 12 or so TGIF channels, and then 50 states that we were able to find on TGIF's talk group list.
Easy peasy.
So, and it's pre-configured for use for the SkyBridge. If you have another hotspot, what you'll need to do is make sure that your prefix settings on that hotspot are set for 5 and not 4, because some hotspots for TGIF are using 4 and some of them use 5. The SkyBridge and our Codeplugs use 5 as the designator, or the prefix, excuse me. So right here, line 18 and line 19 is the shutdown and reboot commands. Now, what these are these are actually talk groups that are set up in the code plug. 9999997 is the reboot command, and 9999996 is the shutdown command. And they're both private calls. So the one thing to remember about that on these is when you go into these and you're making sure everything's set up correctly, it won't matter if you're on a TGIF network talk group at the time or a BrandMeister Network talk group at the time. This is specifically going to the SkyBridge or a hotspot that has been set up. And these are the two universal talk groups that work for those commands. But you do have to turn those on your unit itself. And depending on which software you have, it will show up as under advanced on the WPSD software. And I can show you guys how to get to that real quick. Let me grab a browser window. And let's just drag this over here. Okay. So as you can tell, this is the net talk group, which is 31001 on BrandMeister. And we know that because it says BM and it says net talk group 1. The diabetic ham, it says TGIF right here. That is the 50, and then the actual TGIF talk group number is 31111. So our prefix is that 5 and then a 0. And then because the TGIF talk group number is 5 digits long, whoops, we only need 10 and that 5. If it was a 6-digit number for the talk group number on TGIF, it would just be a 5 and then that 6-digit talk group number. Now, the universal login for most of these hotspots is going to be pi-star, and the password is going to be raspberry, RASP is in Paul, BERRY. And this is the admin screen on the WPSD dashboard. So what we do to get to the remote setting for setting that up is we actually go to advanced from the admin screen, and we go to full editor, and we see that there's an option when we mouse over full editor that says RF remote commands. We actually come in here and we change this to true. So I'm going to do that right now because I had just re-imaged this one. And then under call sign, I'm going to put my call sign in. So W9JAM. Make sure you put your call sign, not mine. Otherwise, it won't recognize it. And then under DMR, because you can set up commands for D-Star to do remote shutdown, DMR, YSF, and P25. They each have their own commands that you can trigger. But for DMR, I just want to take and uncomment or delete the pound symbol from in front of shutdown. And now I can click apply changes. and then come back up here to admin. And then I'm just going to tell it to reboot just to be safe so it can reinitialize that file. And in 90 seconds, my SkyBridge will reboot and I'll be back to my main dashboard screen.
Simple, simple.
So it may seem a little more daunting than it actually is, but there are tons of videos on YouTube that explain this process. For the old PyStar software, we are using the WPSD software now, as well as I believe ZoomSpot is using WPSD as well now. And a few other hotspot manufacturers have switched over to WPSD. Now, one thing you may have noticed for the eagle-eyed viewers, up here in the corner where it says host name, mine says WPSD. That is because I'm running a different version of the WPSD dashboard because I'm testing out a new version on my hotspot that so far, luckily, I haven't had any issues with. Of course, me trying to live on the cutting edge, sometimes you get cut by that, as we all know. For anybody who's ever tried sharpening a knife with a dull sharpener, which shouldn't happen. But on the typical image file, it will say pi-star right here. So if you use a program like Angry IP Scanner to scan your network to find your IP address on your SkyBridge or your ZoomSpot, it will more than likely say pi-star. But if you have multiple hotspot devices, you're actually going to want to come into your configuration. And right here where it says host name, you're going to want to change that, apply changes. And once it applies the changes, you're going to want to reboot the unit by going to power and reboot. So it reboots the unit. And for those who aren't familiar, this is the configuration screen for WPSD. And if you have more than one DMR ID, you'll actually see a drop down right here where it'll say select ID. And you can click that drop down and select which DMR ID you want your hotspot to use. So there's that. Chip Cuccio and the team over at WPSD, they have done an awesome job with the software. So if you get a chance, go to w0chp.radio and give them some praise because they have done an awesome job on this software. We are very happy to be partnered with them for using this on the SkyBridge MAX. Let me go ahead and minimize this back. And I'm going to exit back out of here. So right down here on the Duo Max, what you'll see is we've got 10 TGIF Talkgroups right here to get started. The QuadNet array has a weekly net, and it's one of the largest DMR nets that I'm aware of in the country. And it's a multi-network net. You won't find it on BrandMeister anymore, but it is on TGIF as well as several other systems. P25, I believe there's a D-Star reflector for it now, and YSF, as well as NXDN. So that's one of the largest digital nets that I'm aware of. TGIF has separate talk group numbers for North America and worldwide than BrandMeister does. Hams on the Move, I believe, is the RV group on TGIF for RVers. HF Talk is where you can get with other people and talk about HF. Andy, if you could do me a favor, while I'm going through this, can you take and grab a copy of the invite link and send it to me?
Yes.
Okay. I've got to send that to oh Lord, her name is escaping me right now. I believe it's Carol.
Okay.
One
Let
of
me
our
go ahead
newest
and go grab it.
TAMs. Because evidently she isn't able to get in on the
Okay.
Zoom link.
Stand by.
Um, so there is a BridgeCom TGIF group. Um, I'm actually never on there. Just because if I'm on the radio, it's because I'm helping somebody test it out, and I'm on the radio helping people, and they're typically on BrandMeister because they haven't set TGIF up yet. But with the SkyBridge MAX and the WPSD software, it is really simple to set up TGIF now. It used to be where you had to go through and um, basically copy the configuration for BrandMeister and then change the server name to the TGIF server as well as the prefix for the channels. So there was a lot of configuration that had to be done in the PyStar software, and it still has to be done. Um, Give me 1 second here. Um, James, to answer your question, in the uh, Zoom chat, the Duo Max actually has over 3,000 talk groups in it now because it
It's quite a
actually has
lot.
the whole TGIF database as well as the BrandMeister database in it for talk groups. Um, so that has all of them. Let's see here. Um,
You should have the direct link.
okay, I see it. Thank you.
Yep.
Um, so let me Toby, yes, we still use the Zoom link. The Zoom link is for everything after uh the 30 minutes because we show the first 30 minutes on YouTube now. And then after that, the rest of the lesson and the rest of the information is reserved for BC Plus members only. Um, so that'll be the Zoom link that you get in your email. Um, So, to answer one of our YouTube questions, Jimmy asked, for those of us who pre-ordered the 168, any word when those will be shipped? We are actually waiting on those to be delivered by AnyTone. They have been ordered. We're just waiting on them to be shipped from AnyTone now, and we should have them by the last week of October. Steven asked, if we just ordered the plug and play, which has the Ultra Codeplug, are you going to offer just the additional TGIF entry somehow? No. If you order a straight plug and play package that had the Ultra Codeplug included with it, um, you'll have the Ultra Codeplug, but the new Duo Max Codeplug is slated to come out next month, not this month. And that will be a completely new code plug package. Um, I'm not sure if we're going to be bundling with that with anything next month, but that will be a completely different code plug offering because there is more work that has to go into it. Um, and to give you guys an idea, I had to go through when I was building this and actually export the whole talk group list file and then grab the one from um, TGIF and convert all of those entries to have that 5 and the zeros that fill it in front. Um, so it took a little bit of figuring out how to automate that process for me to do that. But it is a different beast in itself. And as time goes on, about once every year, uh, we will be going through and adding more in as we find out more popular talk groups to add in until we've got about 16 right here for this very first list. And then we'll have the individual states like we do right here. Now, as of right now, there's not a talk group for every state in the country, as far as I'm aware, um, from when this was made, because each state on TGIF, you can make your own talk group. And some people have made statewide talk groups, and other people have made linked or link talk groups, like Alabama Link, um, which is for people to just link up on for Alabama statewide, essentially, from my understanding. So um, that is why you may not see a particular state here, is because there's no talk group for that yet.
Yep.
Um, Now,
Makes
Greg
sense.
points out something interesting. There are two different BridgeCom talk groups on TGIF. The one that we use is the 2266. Um, that is the talk group that we have programmed into the code plug. If you want to add that on your own. Um, so there is that. And one thing um, Alan just pointed out, which is a good thing. TGIF does not have a 10-minute limit on their statewide talk groups. BrandMeister does. So for those of you who have ever experienced the temporary ban hammer, as it's called, from going over that 10-minute limit, um, the reason why they have that is because on BrandMeister repeaters, um, there are 10-minute limits for the statewide talk groups. And if you go over that 10-minute limit, um, repeater owners kind of get mad, and you're tying up the time slot on their repeater talking to somebody instead of moving to a different talk group. That's why most states have what's called a TAC channel or a talk around channel. And that will be in the code plug. You just have to add it. Let me go down here to digital. We'll go to contact and talk groups. And then this is all of the talk groups from BrandMeister. And then when we get to the ones that are labeled TGIF, which will be right here starting at 1616, you'll notice there's different TAC channels right here, as well as different um, name channels
That
um,
are not state,
that are not state TAC
statewide.
channels. That's
Yeah.
because there's no TAC channel for those particular states unless somebody has created one. But there's no 10-minute limit on TGIF. Um, it's just up to you to, say, hey, let's go to this
Be
other talk
courteous.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah, good amateur radio practices still apply on DMR, even
They do.
though, unfortunately, some people don't seem to think that applies because it's DMR. Um, if you've ever tried getting a word in edgewise on worldwide talk group 91,
On 91, yeah. It's not going to
you will
happen.
realize that people are constantly quick keying and never leave room to key up unless, they just get tired of talking. So please be courteous when you're on talk groups. Make sure that you're leaving spacing between your transmissions for somebody to key up, because they may be trying to disconnect from the talk group. And if it's constantly busy, that 4,000 disconnect on BrandMeister won't work.
No, you're not going to
Um,
have a chance to get in.
Now, Um, like some states, it'll say Alabama in the code plug, like this one does. You'll see that there's two that say Alabama, but there's nothing after that. What you can do is you can actually take what's behind the TG number, which will be the 31017, 31019, and do a Google search for that talk group number and just put in BrandMeister talk group and that number, and it'll give you the full name of the talk group, and you can figure out if that's the TAC channel or not that you or the TAC talk group that you want to set up. So you've got somewhere to tell somebody, hey, let's QSY to this. Um, Talk groups are typically limited to 16 channel or 16 characters. So that's why they you can't fit everything in. Um, so with that, I'm going to stop the share right here. And for everybody who's watching on YouTube, um, thank you again for being here tonight. We are going to move on to the BridgeCom Plus members only part of the live stream, which is on Zoom. Again, if you want to take and join BC Plus, what you can do is we do have a monthly, an annual, and a lifetime membership option. And if you do pick the lifetime option, there is a swag box that is going out to the lifetime members. One of the things in there is a customized coffee mug that has your call sign on it. So for the lifetime members that didn't already get theirs, that are waiting for theirs to be shipped, that is something that will be in there for you. So just a heads up on that. But again, for YouTube, thank you for being here tonight. And we look forward to seeing you next week. And I'm Jeremiah, W9JAM with BridgeCom Systems with my co-host.
Andy KC9SKV with BridgeCom as well.
73.
73.